Hello. It was even slicker than ever there, wasn't it? That was just too slick. How you doing? Good to see you, John Refly. You want to see the Nixie Tubes countdown then? Here we go. Of course, when I do that, then you can't hear me. So I was talking, you can hear me because there's no... whatever. I'm going to do some refactoring because like yesterday on the game remake of Letteroids from 1980, I was getting bogged down a bit and it wasn't going so well when I was trying to add shots, but basically what's happened is we've reached the point where I need to do some refactoring. So I'm actually going to do some things are going to change now. Instead of having the main file called test.a, as so many projects have started off that way, we're going to actually start naming files and breaking the thing into files. The interesting thing is whether there'll be different files, but I don't think I'm going to use a linker. I'm just going to be included. Your test.a, yes, exactly. Oh, a couple of nights ago, was it? I don't know when it was, but I did a video. No, it doesn't matter. That if you try to not derail it, it will get derailed. One should not try. One should just trust. But I did. I saw a puzzle, a math problem on my feed, and I thought it was interesting. And so I sort of did a quick video of just going through that problem, and it took off like a rocket. Like normally my views, it's like, yeah, I'm going to view, and then maybe 10 minutes, an hour later, get another view, you know. To get a video to go to one, most of my videos reach 100 views. Well, not all of them, but a lot of them reach 100 views, but it takes usually ages for them to get even to 100 views. And this one reached about 600 views in a day. It was like, it's great. And then I looked at the graph, and it was like, and it shows you how it's doing and how your normal videos do, right? And it carried on like this because it was being recommended by the algorithm until it reached where my videos are normally. And at that point it was... So much for the algorithm. Yeah, it's crazy. But the recent efforts to do more on the channel and is actually paying off. I am getting more subscribers. But I don't know whether those subscribers ever see that I've released another video. It's like, I don't know. But it's not about that. It's about John Vella and Refly. You shall not no, exactly. It looks exactly like a, it's like a Ponzi scheme thing. Well, not Ponzi scheme, but it's like a, it went where I'm trying to do this with a reverse image on the screen, right? So, yes, there are 4 viewers. Oh my! All right. Anyway, I'm going to be doing a refactoring today. So the first one I think I might want to do is I need to figure out what to call these things. So we've got the graphics engine, the sprites. I'm going to make one called sprites.a. And then what we're going to do is then, oh, I already have a header.a. What's in header.a? Oh, that's, yeah, that's just sort of like boilerplate stuff. We'll source sprites.a. And I'll source sprites.a, and what I will do is split my thing and load up sprites.a. Oh, there was already a sprite.a. That was for early experiments. And then in here, I'll just put error, some rubbish, and then I'll try compiling, and it doesn't like, yeah, so it is picking up this in sprites. Okay, that's fine. Now what I can do is start moving some things in there. So we'll move in this one. So I'll move in the sprite address macro. Let me try ASM mode. It wasn't entirely successful last time I tried to put in assembler mode, but you'll see. And can I, oh, come on. Can I reduce the indentation? I don't know. How do I do that? I don't even know how to do that. I've got to look it up. All these years, I don't know whether I ever really... My problem with... Yes. There are 4 dots. I've got to do it. There are 4 dots. The problem was when I was using Emacs way back in the late 80s and early 90s, and the internet wasn't a thing. Looking up the documentation for these things was difficult, and that scarred me forever, I think. But it's not a problem now. I have to remind myself I can actually look up Emacs now on the internet. It's like you're not in that world anymore. People don't appreciate that when the internet came. People who were used to not having the internet had to get used to the internet, had to go, oh, I could use the internet. Can you imagine that now? It's like, oh, I could use the internet. Yeah, there was a time when there was that shift, and you had to remind yourself. Very funny. All right. What am I going to do? I'm looking for Emacs. It's like change indentation. No, I just want to indent. Type CU. Do I? Oh, I closed it. I hate that when I just move a little bit too far. I screwed up my mouse control by having that thing where it was the precision, enhanced precision. So if you moved the mouse faster, it moved the thing further or whatever. And I've used that for a while, and it's completely messed me up. And I've changed back now to linear. But it means I keep overshooting a little bit, and it's really annoying. Anyway, I digress. What was I looking at? See, Control U. Or CU. CU's undefined. Control U. No. All right. The internet wasn't very good. I tell you what. This is a right. I'm going to use ChatGPT. Because it's bugging me. This. Can I have a Chrome window? Yeah. Thank you. And maybe I can add window capture for Google Chrome, and then that's over everything, isn't it? It's like, wow. And I'll put it here, just for the minute. And we'll try ChatGPT, because this is one thing that I find ChatGPT is really useful for, is when you're looking for things like this, and it's like it's painful trying to find the right words in Google search. Come on, ChatGPT. Or did they close? I heard a rumor they closed it down. History is temporarily unavailable. Apparently it was going psychotic or something. We'll try it out. Hi there, Death of Humanity. I will call you Death of Humanity. Do you mind? Do you mind? Well, I should probably. Do you mind if I call you? Do you mind if I call you Death of Humanity? It doesn't have yes, but however, I would like to remind you that using derogatory or offensive language to anyone or anything. Oh, I see. We're not allowed to use derogatory language towards anything. Like, this is unpleasant. We have a bit of inclement weather. Apparently that is not respectful or productive. Okay. Right, so what I want to know, is probably going to be mean with me now. What I want to know is, how do I increase or reduce indentation of selected text in Emacs? You can increase or reduce indentation of selected by scrolling shortcuts. Sheet cuts. Control U to increase. CUCX tab. I never knew this. I'm going to try it. Let's see if it's right. CX. Control X. Control U. Invoking disabled command upcase region. It's disabled because new users of it. Right? It's lying. It's wrong. Oh, maybe I had it the wrong way. CUCX. Oh, Control U, Control X, tab. All right. Okay, we'll try that. Why do you want to depress me, John? There's a football match on. Italy are losing. Well, Italy won the battle of the national anthems, apparently. So, Control U, Control X, tab twice. All right, let's try. A bit weird. Control U, Control X, tab. No wonder I never found this. Control U, Control C, tab. Ah, well, that worked. So, and did I take it out? I did. So let's see if this compiles. Yes. And we'll keep moving stuff then. So sprite to buffer. It's the routine that copies a sprite to the draw buffer. It's done once that sprite has rotated. Let me get rid of that a minute. And then we'll check to see if Well, the Italian national anthem is it's a happy tune, isn't it? Most national anthems are terribly dreary affairs. The Italian one's quite a nice one. I mean, the English one, la 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 la. I mean, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but if we don't compare it to, there's no comparison. It's a bit pompous, isn't it? Which I suppose is appropriate. Sprite buffer. Do I get into trouble now for that? I don't know. I could get cancelled now because I said something that was not entirely positive about the musicality of the British national anthem. Never mind the government that has completely hacked all art spending, you know. So that's... Right, so we'll try that and see what we get. Compiled. And then Shift Sprite 2, this is the code that rotates a sprite to the desired rotation. I covered this before, but I do a trick where I'm rotating the actual source sprite so that I use it as a cache in effect. And then we've got the buffer XOR with screen routine. Yep. We'll try that. That is true. That is true. But on the other hand, you know, I suppose you wouldn't want a national anthem that detracts from the glory of your monarch. You don't want to, you know, upstage the monarch. I would just love it. Wouldn't you love it if we had a monarch who played a musical instrument, or a prime minister who, you know, was competent in something other than manipulation. I should close that. You're blocking the window. The manipulation of public opinion and the other things that politicians do that I won't talk about, because I don't think we can really talk about what politicians do. It's probably illegal now, which gives you some idea about what politicians do. Yeah. This is the one I was working on, was the shot XOR with screen. Well, that's part of sprites as well. Yeah, the anthem being played. You know, let's talk about things like that. The anthem. Well, why not? Why don't we're too serious. We're so flipping serious. I blame religions. They're treating God as a serious thing. It's like, God, why do God? I hope God has a sense of humour. Do you think God has a sense of humour? I mean, you know, if God exists. If God exists, one would hope that God has a sense of humour. Because, seriously, am I going to get cancelled now for saying that God has a sense of humour? Would the theologians say, yes, of course God has a sense of humour, but we don't like to talk about it? Or, yes, God has a sense of humour, but we must still take God seriously. Played bad. On a tin whistle, yes, why not? The problem, you know, I think there's a lot of jealousy in with humanity, and one of the jealousies. This is the reason why the arts are forever getting defunded, is because if you are, you know, a ruler of a country, the probability is there are still some things which are locked off from you. It's like Boris Johnson may have been president may have been Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, but I bet you can't play the guitar or the penny whistle or probably any musical instrument at all, to any level. Probably can't write poetry, probably can't paint, probably can't do any of those things. And so if you imagine that you were someone like that and you wake up in the morning and, you know, you turn on the TV and you see some celebrated poet, what are you going to do? I want some of that too. You can't have it. You can't have that. You know, you can't. Sorry. Defund a lot of them, you know. I'm just being silly, but very sincere. Because I think it's jealousy. I made a song years ago. I never finished it, but it was called "Jealous of the Bountiful Ecos." The idea being that we destroy the environment and the world we're in. We do that because fundamentally we are jealous of it. We kill animal species because we're jealous of them. I mean, you can understand that, can't you? It'd be very easy to be jealous of a cat, though for some reason we have different standards with cats. Maybe because they seem a bit cruel and so they resonate with us. I don't know, but you know, the point is that animals seem to live their life just sort of, they just get on with it, don't they? They're not, you know, all sort of hung up the way that we are, and then we get jealous of that, and then what do we do with anything that we're jealous of? We destroy it, you know. And but I'm not being serious. I'm not being serious. I'm just being sincere. Right, where were we? Run the flipping thing. See, because you know me when I'm refactoring. I'll just refactor and waffle. Refactoring doesn't require a lot of thinking. So I've taken all my sprites out, sprite routines out so far anyway, put them in here. And so now this is the start of the program, because I've been having trouble finding it. I'm going around, where is the beginning of the program? I'm going to create another file in here, which I will call what? System. I'm just sort of structuring this in a similar way to the way that you structure a game engine. I've got, even though it's a 1 megahertz 6502 system, you know, from 40 years ago. Yeah. That was a reason I used to, I started off trying to teach students about assembly programming. It's because you learn a lot. I have a cat, and I also have 3 stray cats. What's a stray cat? Stray cats, all right. Who I feed 3 times a day. You need to get a new keyboard, John. Actually, no, I could go further than that. It's not that you need a new keyboard, it's that you need to fix your letter R. Your R on your keyboard is not working. Because you see, I have 3 stray cats who I feed 3. I know you missed an R and E as well, but there was the R missing, times a day. And even have a straw-filled kennel in the garden so they have somewhere warm to sleep at night. That's nice. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. I think it's good. And we should be kind to animals. Oh, you're on a mobile. Well, then, you know, I just totally admire you for even bothering to type anything on a mobile. Seriously. That's painful. Yeah, we should be kind to animals, you know, because when they rule the world, we, you know, the old shoe will be on the other foot. They'll be chasing us around. I've got a system thing here, system file, system.a. Right, let's see if this compiles and runs. It does. I know it's very boring right now because it's still in the broken state it was in yesterday. So now I have start, and this is, I'm going to leave this in here, and with the cycle counts and the whatever on here, draw shots, the halt function. This can go in there, so can show regs. Let's take the registers and does a debugging tool. Take the registers, write them to bytes on the screen, and then you can read off the contents of those registers by looking at the pixels. You know, if it works, don't knock it. Or knock it. I don't care. Knock it. I mean, knocked so much in my life. I mean, what's another knock? I mean, seriously. Right, we'll try again. Oh, John, you win a special place in my heart for that comment. I think, can I promote you? Let's see. Add as managing moderator. There you go. I cannot bestow anything more than that. Do you like this t-shirt? You now. I got this through broadcasting on You Now. I dread to think what they do now. Oh, sorry about the microphone. Well, that's another story. That's like 10 years ago. I think we're still working. Is what else can I do? And then it's like, ooh, I got the random number functions. So there's the random number functions. Let's take those and put them in the system. Should they belong in system? So what? As good as any other place. It's out of test. Which it makes sense. Its code is, what's this? It's hypnotizing, isn't it? It's not. What's happened here? Look at that. Sometimes when you're doing this programming on these systems, you'll get a weird thing like that. You will never find out why it's doing that. It's like, I've got no debugger. I mean, how do I have to backtrack. It's the only thing I can do. Obviously, I modified something that shouldn't be modified. So I'll take it back to where, using the undo, I'll take it back to where system, the VSync. Hey Gareth, how you doing? And then we'll continue from here. So I put in system, I put the VSync macro in system. Well, that's all very well and good. And now I was trying to get the Mac. Oh, I haven't put the chat up. Red alert. I knew I totally messed up. They were not seeing the chat. Chat should be here. We should have chat here. And the problem is that I have to jump into here. No, not there. Into here, and I have to select that, and then there we are. There's the chat. You liking the assembly lives? That's good. Are you into assembly? We should have some kind of assembly collaboration. There should be a collaboration between assembly programmers. Why not? I'm often looking for people to collaborate with. I never find any. Maybe this way. I do reach out from time to time to people. I see something great that they did, you know, and I go, that's really impressed me. You know, you want to do something together? No. And like, oh, okay. And then I large expanses of time go by before I try again, and I see someone else. And they go, like, you know, is it something I said? Do I smell? I don't know. What is it? I mean, if I smell it, it shouldn't make any difference because nobody's meeting face to face anyway. But you never know. Maybe it's that powerful. I have no idea. Seriously. I tell you, try it again. It will reward you. It will reward you. It took me a bit to decode that one, John, but yes, depending. That's a little bit of a Douglas Adams-esque statement. That's very nice. Well, I could do. Would you be interested in a tutorial? Why not? I could do Learn to Program 6502 because it's something you could probably do better than ChatGPT. Where is ChatGPT? I mean, where did I put it? It's the thing is that ChatGPT is not actually that great. I mean, obviously the hype said how great it was. Of course it said how great it was because that's what, you know, people do when they're in media. They say how great something is, not because of how great it is, but because of how great it can make them, you know. It's like, so I'm going to do, can you code a sprite engine supporting 6 sprites of 8 by 8 pixels at 50 FPS on the ACORN Atom without any screen noise. Let's see. It's going to say certainly. It's how to approach the problem. So to achieve 50 FPS without any screen noise on the Atom, you need to use interrupts to update the screen at a fixed interval. Incorrect. You don't. You do not need to use an interrupt at all. You just need to wait for the VSync. The ACORN Atom has a 6502 processor running at 1 megahertz, which should be sufficient to handle the sprite engine. Oh, yeah. Yes, if you're very careful and clever with your coding. Here's a possible algorithm for the sprite engine. Initialize the graphics mode and set up interrupts to update the screen at a fixed interval of 20 milliseconds. No, you do not do that. Load the 8x8 sprites into memory, one for each sprite. From where? From cassette tape? Where are you supposed to load them from? Load them. What is this load? I mean, seriously, it's taking a stab. You know, it's like talking to someone who doesn't know what they're talking about, but is trying to tell everybody how to do things. Like a first-year student. Sorry, I didn't say that. Well, I can't say that because I'm not a teacher anymore. And I didn't specify which year of what education. No, right, anyway, let's define the position, direction, and speed of each sprite. Well, duh, but how? In the interrupt handler, update the position of each sprite according to its direction and speed. Okay, check for collisions between sprites and handle them accordingly. How do you check for collisions? You know, I mean, you're probably going to tell me you need to calculate. I'll try that one question in a minute and see if it gets, you know, what. Copy the sprites onto the screen buffer, taking care to avoid any screen noise by using the correct timing and synchronization techniques. Oh, that's a bit fuzzy. Repeat steps 4 to 6 for each frame. The algorithm should be able to handle up to 6 sprites of 8x8 pixels at 50 FPS without any screen noise on the ACORN Atom. Not like that, it won't. However, there may be additional optimization adjustments required depending on specific hardware and programming files we use. Okay, let me just try. Let's try something here. All right, I got to say, how can I quickly detect collisions in? How can I quickly detect collisions? Right. To quickly detect collisions between sprites, one common approach is to use a technique called bounding box collision detection. This involves defining a rectangular box. Well, that's true. Here's a possible algorithm for bounding box. For each sprite, determine its position size, calculate the coordinates of its bounding box. To check for collisions between two sprites, compare the coordinates. If the collision is detected accordingly. Here's some Python code. I'm just going to continue laughing for effect. I need to stop to breathe a little bit from time to time. Try not to snort next time when you stop. Yeah, Python. Whatever. Python. Bye-bye. Sorry. I'm feeling very silly today. Well, good. I'm glad, Gareth. If it's helpful, you know. Not this evening, as I'd need to be on a computer. Yeah, but that's fine. But I tell you what, if people are interested, I'm very keen on doing some stuff that's more personal. So it'd be great if there was a group of people who wanted to learn, and then we could just schedule something in. I'd be open to that. The more people who are interested, the more open I'd be to it. Yeah, you're a maths teacher. Wow, yes, of course. If you want to give any feedback on any of the math stuff that I try to teach, please do. I'm doing a series at the moment on my normalized tunable sigmoid function programming, no, mathematics for game programmers. And that seems to be going quite well. I set the 50 views before I put out the next part. So part 2 just dropped yesterday. But I agree. I mean, I actually like teaching. I like teaching people who want to learn. It's very depressing to teach people who don't want to learn or think that they can learn better by not being taught by you. It's like then that's, you know, basically have students who want to be there. I think ultimately that's why I stopped teaching, because it's like, I swear that students who, well, you know, the percentage of students, I'm not going to go there, but I'm going to change the topic. Oh, I do beg your pardon. I've just realised I was scratching my thumb and then that was on the microphone. Apologies. So what am I trying to do here? Where am I at? I'll get back to this. So we were dealing with the sprites. When I tried to move the random number generator into a different file, that caused a problem before. That was a while ago. I got distracted. I moved the halt instruction and show regs. I'm going to try putting those into system. And hopefully that will work. No, that's curious, isn't it? I'm back there again with this thing. Oh, I know what's happened. Oh, you teach adults. Wonderful. That's a whole different game, teaching adults. I mean, I was teaching adults too, but they were, let's say, newly formed adults. I mean, I could tell you stories. Think about where you're dealing with programming, and especially programming connected with, hey, Italy's up, pulled back one. How much time is left? I mean, curious. I've completely distracted myself to pieces now. I don't remember what I was talking about. Doesn't matter. We'll move on. Teaching adults, teaching people who want to be taught. Oh, it was that one. I probably told that story before. But when you're doing mathematics, and it's for game programming, obviously, in this case. Mathematics is a very precise thing, a precise activity. And no, a sine wave is not the same thing as a parabola. Honestly. And it wouldn't really matter, but when you have a student who says things like that and then goes and it starts spreading. It's like, seriously, people, a sine wave is not the same thing as a parabola. If I say it's wrong if you use a sine wave, it's not me being strict. It's not me being, it's my way or the highway. It's not me being some kind of authoritarian thingy. It's just me doing my ruddy job. Oh dear, I'm going to go down. I'm going to have a panic attack in a minute. There are 32 minutes remaining, plus stoppage. So there's plenty of time there. Plenty of time. The psychology of it. The most vulnerable time is now for England. Because the English team, their most vulnerable time is when they are on the verge of winning. That's when They start getting nervous. They start thinking, oh, this could be here. Their mind is distracted from the game. They're thinking about the headlines tomorrow. And I figured out what this is. This is actually the halt routine. The reason it looks like this is because I'm not in the graphics mode. So that's what confused me. So when I move this into here, it's for some reason just going straight into the halt routine. And the reason is because its execution of the code is, I put this, this needs to be either a macro. Oh, yes, you either make it a macro or you, as a library, it has to go at the end, or I have to make sure that the start happens before. So basically, it hits this first and executes it. What's that? You've been teaching forklift, and yours was the first class in a long time where nobody dropped out halfway through the course. Not one student left. Sorry, does that mean that they dropped out, all dropped out halfway through the course? Or are you saying, no, oh, not one student left. Oh my God. There we are. Grammar, English, not one student left. What does that mean? It could mean not one student left the course, or there was not one student left at the end of the course. Is that brilliant? Wonderful. I could try confusing Chat GPT with that. That's amazing. Well done. That's a feather in your cap for sure. So I think what I need to do on this is what? To avoid that kind of complication, when I get to here, as I do, I'm going to do the first instruction is jump start. Do I need to comment that? So it will jump to start. Thus, any code that I put in here is not going to be executed immediately. That should avoid that problem. Let's try this again. Yeah, it's good. It's good if you're able to teach and you're appreciated for your skills. It's not really a given that the two things will go together. This has always been the way, though. As you know, I'm a fan of Alan Watts. He talks about in education how if classes are very well occupied, your class is very well attended, and students are applauding you, and so on, you will get very dark looks from your colleagues in the faculty. Okay, where is this program counter undefined? Line 18. And since Alan Watts passed away in the early 70s, this is a very, very old problem, I think. Program counter undefined. Why does it not like that? Oh, because I didn't put the header must come before that jump start. Okay, here we are. We'll try again. So, what do we have here? It's been refactored, and slowly this file is getting smaller. How many lines are we? It's still 950 lines. Is there anything else I can move out of here? Test sprites. Am I even using that anymore? No. It's time to say bye-bye to that. I don't need that anymore. There's a clear screen routine. I don't even know why I put that one down there. Clear screen.a. It's a clear screen routine. Okay. This is a bit oddly specific. So, well, maybe what I'll do is take clear screen and we will put it into system because it feels like a system-y thing, like you want to clear the screen. Put that there, and then I can get rid of this. At the beginning of my teaching career, my manager was giving me feedback from an observation in the canteen. One of my classes was walking through and they all came over to shake my hand and say hi. Oh, that's good. It's amazing. It's great when that happens. I remember once I had a similar kind of story. In my case, I was pretty sure that the eye of Sauron was looking at my classes because I was not an easy teacher in the sense that I had high standards, as in, you know, especially if it's to do with whether it's correct or not in terms of like mathematics courses and so on. It's like you can't fudge it, you know. You either the answers are either right or wrong, and sometimes the percentages would be rather low. But what I was trying to do was to compensate for the very poor quality of mathematics understanding of the intake. And so, of course, there are two ways of solving that. One of them is that you just sort of like fudge it, and I'm not a fudger. So I was trying to help these students improve. But maybe the percentages, therefore, was always a bit of an interesting challenge. Anyway, this is nothing new. It's a very well-known problem. I hardly ever got applause in my lectures. It was, I don't know why, it just hardly ever happened. But one day I was using Desmos actually, and I had put a demonstration of some things, and they weren't necessarily, it wasn't anything really odd. It was just, there was some stuff in there that was some humour that worked, I think. You know, you might think I really don't have much of a sense of humour, and I know many people accuse me of that, but maybe I wasn't the kind of humour that would mesh with the particular audience. But on this day, it worked. And just when the audience, the students, applauded, in walked a teacher, and I was never clued in as to why, but it was like a sudden drop-in without any warning, right at that moment. And that was really weird because hardly anybody ever saw me teach at all. I think none of my colleagues attended any of my classes except one. There was one who did. He was an artist, friend of mine. So that was very unusual. Just the one time that a fellow teacher walked in on my class was the moment that I got applause. I thought to myself, yeah, someone's looking after me. Oh, John. Okay. And the manager couldn't stop giving you dirty looks. Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it? Why are we like this? Honestly, I'm as I get older and older, I get more despairing of the state of humanity, and it's just this type of stuff. And I'm like an elephant. I never forget with these things. I never forget these. I'll never forget your story there. It's like giving you dirty looks. You're doing the job that you're supposed to. You've got to educate students. You want to keep them engaged. If they come up to you and they give you compliments, you know you are doing the right thing. And it can be, you can go a long time without getting compliments. And it's not just me. It's a bit like that for everyone. It can be a thankless task. And so then your manager is supposed to be someone who is trying to help you do your job as well as you can do it. Where is dirty looks? What the hell? Is that what are we doing? I've got a bit of a hobby horse about people with solutions. It's like, when you have a group of people and there's someone who has a solution and they present the solution to a group of people, this is universal, it's almost universal. And the first thing that people do is, instead of looking at the possibilities of this idea, because you've got a choice, haven't you? You've got a new idea. You can either go and say, "Oh, a new idea. Let's have a look. Let's see what the possibilities are." We could do that, couldn't we? We could choose to do that first. But what's the human nature that you all too often see? It's the other way round. It's like investigating the reasons to dismiss it first. Why? You could. It's not like the same thing as saying, "Oh, well, you just have to accept everybody's ideas, and if you ever bring this up, then that's the first thing that you'll hear back, isn't it?" It's like, well, can't we? Wouldn't it be better to sort of embrace the possibility of a new idea? And they say, "Well, you can't just accept every idea," but that's not the same thing. It's like, you don't have to accept the idea, but what you can do is you can embrace the possibility. You can be open to it and look at the possibilities first before you look at the possible disadvantages, issues, or reasons it wouldn't work or whatever. Because if you look at the negatives first, you will never get to the positives, And that's human nature. It's like, what? Can we stop doing that? Can we just stop? Please. Because otherwise what will happen is that people will just stop coming up with new ideas. And, you can look at the video game industry. Is it coming up with new ideas? Look at anything. They're coming up with new ideas. Any industries. Politics are coming up with new ideas. Well, why do we stop innovating? It's no flipping secret why, really. If the first way that we react to a new idea is to look for a reason to dismiss it. Our choice. Oh dear. Oh, and you ended up going back, so it had a... Because I remember you went into IT, so I haven't followed your story, John. Sorry, I'm not. But so I know that you had an issue and then you went back into IT, and now you've gone back to education again. Well, if you're happy, that's the important thing. We've all got to try and find a place to be where we're happy, and for pity's sake, if you're not happy where you're working, try and look for a place where you can be happy. The funny thing is, if you get a bunch of people together and you say, what would make you feel happy at work? They'll all say pretty much the same thing. It's not a secret. I call it professionalism, actually. It's which is a very old-fashioned word, and people recoil at it, but in the end, it's a word that works, isn't it? Work in a professional environment where there's mutual respect and mutual dedication and support. These things are important. I might actually create a rubric or a guide for professionalism, like how you create a professional work environment. And it's actually not that complicated, honestly. But even though it's not complicated, it's so often it isn't done. Just isn't. Simple little things. I don't think I've ever quit a job in my life. because of pay. It's not pay, not pay. It's like the pay is the last. It's other stuff, the free stuff. It's free stuff that makes the difference. So then you have to think, why is it that people don't reach for the free, for the stuff that doesn't cost anything? Why don't they? I don't know. It's very rare to see it in all my years. Anyway, enough of that. We'll come back to this. Explode ship. I think exploding the ship is still ship. This is all, what I'm trying to do is keep in here the game dependent stuff. Update the ship, set ship velocity. And then we have, this is engine stuff here. Good on you. You don't even know it. Honestly, I mean, surely you check to make sure that it could pay is enough to pay your bills. I was working at one job where my boss didn't know what my salary was. That was fun. Right, sometimes in companies they have rules for that kind of thing, but generally the employee is allowed to know how much they're being paid. It's generally okay. Hey, Alessandro, how you doing? From Milan. We have people from Milan. Do you remember when I used to have that little map up? We could bring that. If I ever bring that back, though, I'll have to write the code for it myself. I'd have a little pin in Milan. How are things in Milan? How are things in Italy? How are things with the new Prime Minister thing? So what I've got there was some code to do with, oh, there's still more sprite code. I should move the sprite code. Where's sprites? Sprites here. More sprites code. At the end of the month, money appears in my account, says John. I pay the bills, buy stuff, and hopefully I still have some money left for fizzy pop and sweets. But you don't care. Yeah. Fair enough. I couldn't tell you how much is in mine at the moment, my bank account right now. I'd have to look it up. I've got no idea. I like to be... I like to not live on the breadline. There are many people who do live on the breadline. You know, they're living month to month. I've been lucky that I've been able to avoid that mostly. Been a few occasions where it got tight. It's good to not worry about that and just relax. So I hear you. So where was this? I put this in. What? Sorry, I'm talking now, and I'm in the middle of my refactoring. What did I just copy here? I don't know. It was these move sprite routines. Yeah, down to the collision, so I think I'm good with that. Let's see if this works. Hey, Gareth. I'm losing track on whether I said hi to you already. I'm just looking back. No, I already said hi to you, so I'll take that back then. Here in Milan, it's like pre-COVID era. A lot of tourists come back. Good. I'm glad. That whole COVID thing was terrible. And it's people forget that Italy, outside of China, Italy took the brunt of it in the sense that it was the first place where it hit, and it hit really, really hard. And I think Italy should be proud of, you know, having weathered that. And it's good to get back to normal. So I once refused a salary increase because I couldn't tell them what my current salary was in appraisal. What? Oh my God, I feel for you, Gareth. Oh, that just would make my blood boil. Oh, how disrespectful. That's so disrespectful. People like that. How can people be like that? Yes, I would leave too. I would probably quit on the spot. It's just like, whatever. I mean, it's bad enough when you're promised things that then don't transpire. That's common enough. Oh yeah, you'll no. But that takes the biscuit. I mean, that's not just saying, oh, we're not going to give you a raise, but we're not going to give you a raise and it's your fault. Or we were going to give you a raise. We could afford to give you a raise. You deserve the raise, but simply because you couldn't tell us what your current salary is, you're not going to get it. Yeah. Oh, wait a minute, we have an update. Luke Shaw shown a red card with 10 minutes remaining. Is it still 2-1 to England? Let's see if I can predict what's going to happen. So we've got as the red card. Now, Italy, if they want to win, they would have to, which I presume they do, they would have to go completely into the attack in the last 10 minutes, which doesn't come that naturally to them. But England is down 1. I haven't got what I'm talking about here. We'll see. It's just, I'm going to put my money on the following, metaphorical money, you know, fraction of my salary or whatever. They're going to go ahead and push and be aggressive to try and capitalise on one man down of England, and then in the last 5 minutes, England will score again. We'll see if I'm right or not. Yeah, I love doing those things because if I'm wrong and it's like, but if I happen to get lucky, then it's like, oh my God, that was incredible. I did this once with a pack of cards, actually. And a couple, someone who actually was a colleague, but yeah. And he was into card tricks. And so I just did the thing where it was like a pack of cards, pick a card out, put it on the top, like this, and I said 7 of diamonds. And he was like, and it's because it was the 7 of diamonds. It was just a pure guess, but it was, it's worth a try. You know, 1 in 52 chance you might hit it. And then if you do, it's like, oh, how did you do it? Italy really going for it now. 10 minutes left. Okay. But you see, this is where the reasoning I've got behind England winning, and probably winning by scoring another goal, is because England are at their most dangerous when they are the underdogs. you know. That's my theory. I'm sticking by it. We'll see if I'm right or not. Hey, Alan, how's it going? Oh, we're doing following the game on another screen. I'm not looking at the game. I don't really watch football games anymore. I wonder why. Why did this whole thing of football sort of lose its luster? I wonder why. I can't imagine why. Where am I at now? So looking at this, update sprites, that's also a sprite routine, so I can move this out. Oh, and this is part of it too. So that's a whole sprite routine. That's going to go into sprites. Two 4K monitors here. Oh, nice. I saw your comment on my YouTube video. Phil, this is when you were doing, was it economics you were saying, or statistics? Economics. I'm just curious as what it's used for in economics. I don't know. Hey, Alessandro. Alessandro, no. Sono sempre più peggi. Non cambia mai, sono sempre più peggi. Io non ricordo mai una volta, scusi, italiano è un po', ma io non ricordo mai quando la squadra italiana tutti dicono che sono proprio bravi. No, è una cosa che non si dice mai, no? Okay. I was just telling Alessandro that, because he's saying that it's one of the worst Italian soccer teams of all time, and I was just basically saying they're always that. I can't remember when we have ever heard. I can't remember when the Italian team was ever described by the Italians as being anything other than the worst. Yes, I know. Could you imagine if programming languages were Italian in ethos? I don't know. Anyway, I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. I think I may have scared off some people with my Italian. Probably scared off Alessandro. He's like, well, che è questo matto? Che dice? Pazzo di. No. Anyway, is it still working? Yeah. Yeah, he's not saying anything anymore. I think he ran screaming. He couldn't stand my destruction of the Italian language. Update ship. Draw shots. I've got more graphics routines here. Clear sprite. Draw sprites. I mean, it's almost entirely, the code is almost entirely just drawing blooming sprites. Sprite flags. Commonly used for regressions where the output is a probability of an event occurring. I can't quite picture how it's actually used. I should probably look it up. So let's see where we're at now. Did he go? Did Alessandro go? Um, 527. There's something wrong on line 527. there. Now, I wasn't saying that, maybe you misunderstood me. I wasn't saying that Italian team are the worst team in the world. I'm just saying that I never heard of them described as being anything else than that. There's always a complaint. That's basically what I'm saying. But I think the Italian... Oh, there we go. You're still here. Okay, fine. I was hoping you weren't offended. I was trying in my very poor, very ineffectively to basically say Italians always complain about the Italian football team, no matter how good they are and how well they do. It's part I think Italian... it's part of the Italian culture. I think it's the same in the UK, frankly, though, with the British. It's just the same. It's the same everywhere. Every country is the same. There we go. Right. Target out of range, line 362 in test. I told the truth. I feel reassured. Thank you. I try to be sincere. With good Italian, you'll get a promotion. You flatter me like that. I try. So let's see, 362 in test. I'm in the wrong file. Now, because one of the disadvantages of this shuffling is the code ends up in a different order, which means that the 256 byte boundaries in the code move around. And what's happened is that it appears to have created an out of range branch on line 362. Really? No, that looks like something else. It looks like I've got missing code. DSH1, where is that? Oh. It's because I didn't copy it all. I only copied a tiny fraction of that code. So in fact, this bit here, all of that should go here. That's why. So yes, you can jump from one file to another file. What fun. So how much time is left now? Will my prediction come true? Clipboard error, indeed. The model is probability Italy winning equal F, a bunch of variables, how good they are, English man down, 2-1 down, time left. 2 minutes. Oh, I love it. Every writes the letter O clockwise and with the left hand anti-clockwise. Yeah, the only time I draw an O anti-clockwise is if I'm being pretentious. Otherwise, yes, I do it. If I use my left hand, yeah, I think it's got to do with joined up writing, that you have a letter, you go from that letter to the next letter. No, it wouldn't matter because you're writing left to right. That's interesting. Hmm, 2 minutes left. Well, if my prediction is going to come true, England need to score. Are they going to score? Is things working here? Am I refactoring? Right, I think I've got it down to 580 lines. Do I have anything else I can put out? I can do explode ship, update ship, set ship velocity, reduce fuel, kill ship. These are all gameplay. There's the main loop. That's it. I can't really reduce it any more than that. But now we change test A. I'm going to change the name of test A to main.a. But now I need to change my AutoIt script. Oh, I'm displaying that. I didn't mean to do that. I was blocking the editor. Sorry about that. Oh, I should have called that lots of fake injuries. There should have been lots of fake injuries. I could have predicted that. So I didn't. I kind of predicted an England win, but it was not by 2 goals. Because I presume the final whistle has blown now. Yeah. Oh well. Next time for Italy. So I was going Git. Where are we doing for Git? Atom. Letteroids. Load and run. I need to change this to main. Compile that. So let's see if this works. It should be running main now. No. Wait a minute. No, I need to also change the configuration in Emacs. So I'm searching for atom shell command do. Oh yes, there's a do script. Oh no, this do script is not there. It's here. Do atom out. So if we take the output and put in there, well, I should probably letteroids 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. No, I think I can use those number of letters. To letteroids asm out blah 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 blah. Let's see if this works. So I'll have to run this manually to understand why it's not working, changing the file name. Zoom in on this and we go boom like that. CD. You can't see that window, so let me show you, share that one. Add window capture, Sigwin. So you've got this. What language did you use for developing the first kickoff? It was 68,000 assembler. It wasn't C. I wouldn't have been able to do it in C. Too slow, and not enough memory. So doobie-doo. What did it compile then? Well, I do, no. Main.a. Oh, it didn't create anything called letteroids. Oh, right. I need to do ls.atomulator atomulator mmc. Yeah, there is a letteroids now. Oh, yeah, because that's I made the mistake there in my autoit script. I need to I'm not calling it main, I'm calling it letteroids. Let's compile that. I'll try do again. Okay, that worked. So if I hit F5, so there we go. Am I the only one who can't read any of the code? The resolution is really low. If you are, one thing I've noticed on YouTube is you often have to set the resolution higher than the default. The default is the worst one. I think they're trying to save bandwidth. Oh, Cygwin is like an essential part of everything I do. I use it at work as well. I couldn't live without Cygwin, to be honest. And I know you've got the WSL stuff, but that's got really good. But there's no substitute for Cygwin as well. I tend to use both. So I think what I have now is I've refactored this, and what I need to do is get the game running again properly. And the problem I was having was with adding the shots, and in fact I can see here that I put a couple of lines in to just test the shots drawing out. So I think the game's still not back. Mind you, I'm editing the wrong file. No, I'm not. I'm editing main. That's not the wrong file. But let me check to see if it's the wrong file or not. If I put some garbage in here, do I get an error? No. See, that's a dead giveaway that I'm not actually compiling what I think I'm compiling. So I need to figure that out now. What's going to do? Ah, I need to change the name of test.a to main.a. Let's see what happens. Ah, syntax error. Yes, right, maybe the game will run now. That's weird. Some very interesting things here. The game is completely messed up. Now I wish I had source control. Okay, what have I done? So in order to fix this, because now the game is completely broken. I have to start from basic principles. I have to rebuild the game. So to rebuild the game, we just go through this. I store, that's just stores 0 in sprite AB, and then I clear the screen, and I'm going to jump halt. And that is behaving as it should. And then I make sure the random number generator is not 0, and then I load the number of letters. And before I continue, actually, one of the things that, oh, look at that. It's crazy. It's behaving differently again. I'm just going to go up here and turn the number of shots to 0. And that doesn't work, but it removes the shot. Anything to do with shots, I'm going to just remove a minute. Shots. Draw shots here, get rid of them. Comment that out. I'll leave the shot bits in there. Let's just see if that's a cause. Oh wow, I'm getting all kinds of crazy stuff happening. And this just shows the importance of always tracking your changes, doing, well, you see, my mistake, this was the mistake I made, was the test I was running was one that wasn't testing the game. That was a silly mistake. And so I was testing I wasn't testing the game completely, so I broke the game in my refactoring without realizing it. And so what I'm going to do is just slowly build the stuff back. What I've ended up, though, is something really freaky and strange. And it's sort of very Matrix-like, isn't it? This was not planned. A web-based quiz using Notepad++. I know sometimes it's better to go back to the basics, isn't it? I find this quite pretty. It could even inspire a video game. Look at that. But alas, I have to now unbreak this. Look, and it crashes when the ship dies, and like, so draw a line. It draws the line. It sets up the initial positions for the letters in all probability. Initializes the ship. None of this will probably do anything. Move sprites, force, draw sprites, and then we'll halt here, jump halt. And so that's fine. This is the, I should be drawing the 10 letters. It's not drawing the letters. It's not a problem that's due to the animation of the frames or the execution of the main loop. We have a clear problem right on initialization, which makes it easier to do it. Well, at some point I will, I have got, this is actually theoretically in a Git repository, but I haven't done any, I haven't really set it up yet. There's, you know what, there's a kind of, it's like Star Trek. You know, how is it like Star Trek? It's like Star Trek at the you know, the holodeck. with protocols off, the safety protocols off. Sometimes you just do it for the thrill because nobody's paying you to do this work. So, you know, now I can figure it out. I'll figure it out anyway. And it is fine as far as refactoring goes. You know, it's probably good that I do a bit of a code review. So the move sprites forced, and then draw sprites, and then halt. So what I'm going to do is change the number of letters to 1. So we'll only draw 1 letter. We'll try. Symbol already defined. Which symbol's already defined? Line 9. Oh, it was defined twice. We didn't complain if it was set to the same thing. You can see there's no letter A. Let's have a look at the bits for the sprite data. All right. What I will do is I will do a manual draw of a sprite. So, how's it jump halt? Well, I'm going to comment this out. Let's just move that jump halt to here. And now what I'm going to do is set up a draw of a sprite manually. Which involves well, rather than calculate the address of the sprite, I think I can do buffer XOR with screen, shift sprite to buffer. I'll just do that first of all. So we do sprite to buffer from the sprite data. Sprite data, what? There's only one sprite data. To $8000. Oh, let's make it 8400. And the sprite instance is going to be in the X register, so I do load X immediate 0. Add random file corruption too, yes. I only allow my wife to work in a Dropbox, which backs up everything. That makes sense. Following on sort of from Alessandra's question, do you think that having to learn 6502 assembler, it was invaluable to learn 6502 assembly. It was invaluable to learn BASIC. Before that I started with BASIC, as many people do. I think everybody should learn to program the hardware. Should learn a bit of assembly programming. You will be a better programmer for it. There's absolutely no doubt about that. Because, I mean, it's part of my power as a programmer. So I'm going to load the X with 0. And there are always those people who will say things like, oh, he's not relevant. I had many students who would try to say that. They just didn't understand that it's not to do with technology. Technology is not the bottleneck. This is the bottleneck. You work on building this. And so it doesn't matter how you make the thing that you make, as long as it's serving a purpose. If the purpose is to train you, it's actually better to work on systems that require more mental effort, because that way it trains you. So especially as far as education goes, you know. But if you view education as being, you've got to get a certificate at the end, and so it doesn't matter, you know. You just get the certificate. So if you focus on getting the certificate, then you take shortcuts to get the certificate, and all you end up with in the end is a piece of paper, and the piece of paper is not going to help you. It'll help you. Will it help you? It might help you get a job. Not really, because these days we all know when we're hiring people for, you know, into the industry, we know that the pieces of paper don't necessarily mean a thing. They're not very secure as a measure of ability. But anyway. Hey Splatty, how you doing? Thanks for you interacted with my tweets. Thank you. Retweeted them and stuff, so appreciated. Much to do with lateral thinking and attitude as the tools. Yes, the tools are an irrelevance. The tools are the least interesting things. It's like, which language should I use? Should we use Rust? Should we use Rust? Rust. Rust is great. Rust is great. Everybody with Rust. It's like, maybe. On the other hand, you could just focus on getting the most out of the C programming language. Or C++, you know, what are we trying to shortcut? And then there are certain aspects for certain languages that, you know, they're valuable for they can be valuable depending on what you're trying to do. But nobody's come up with a language that just solves everything. Well, I think I have, but it's not a real language, so. And nobody's going to be interested in that solution. That's a Phi programming language. I might get back to that eventually. But, you know, certainly you're not going to create a language that solves everything that's based around the way languages are made. The problem is the program counter and state variables. You want to get rid of the program counter, but still have state. If you go and you look at any of the procedural programming languages, they're all, you know, you can change the syntax, but in the end, that isn't the core of the challenge of engineering. Doesn't lie with the syntax of the language. You know, it would be like saying there are certain languages that. It's like, choose the language that you speak, and does it affect the way you think? And actually, languages probably do affect the way that we think. But you can think the same things in Italian that you can think in English. It's like, does your ability to reason depend entirely on, you know, you could say, I want to get a clearer view of the world, so I am going to switch my language to French because French is the latest fashion for talking about philosophy. The interesting thing is this other thing. The interesting thing are the things you see me do here. This is actual real. If you want to get closer to programming, this is, and you know, say, well, what are you doing? I don't understand what's going on. How is it? You know, it's, no, it's all the same. I know the connection is the same, and I suppose that's the thing about the experience of doing assembly programming. Gives you a perspective that you never get if you don't, and that perspective is useful. For example, it's very valuable for learning how to debug a system where the debugger doesn't help you and print statements don't help you and you've got nothing to go on at all, And if you think that that doesn't happen with modern technology, I'm sorry to disappoint you. It does happen. You will end up, usually it happens once for every project at least, and usually in the last week before you ship. Everything is going okay, perhaps a little bit slow because of the build times and whatever else, but you're progressing, and you go and say, okay, final candidate, I think we've got everything we need for this, and you build it and it runs, and within 1 minute QA find a devastating crash, and you're all just looking at each other and going, where did that come from? And then it's the scramble to reproduce the crash. And then you find that, yeah, it doesn't work if the crash doesn't happen if you try to run in debug. It only happens on release. Okay, so can't use the debugger because also its behavior, some race condition, and just putting a breakpoint in changes. I've had all of this happen. Professional developers have all seen this at some point. If they've been around long enough, they'll have seen this. They'll have had to live through this. You put breakpoint and it changes the behavior of your game. You put a line of code in for logging, it changes the behavior of your game. You do anything at all, it changes the behavior of your game. And you have to try and find the solution with nothing to go on. What do you do then? Cry? There are techniques that you can use, but at a certain point you go off the track even there if it's really bad and you're on uncharted territory, and then it's like you're using every ounce of your experience to try and sniff it out. A lot of it is often just repetition. You just keep playing and you keep playing and you keep playing, and you look at where the crashes occur and you start to think, it feels like there's a connection. It feels like it could be something to do with some aspect on it. You end up predicting, you end up finding you're able to predict it. You're playing, I mean, I've been through all this. You're playing the game and you've got a sense, I knew it was going to do that. It's like you get a feeling it's going to crash. Boom, it crashes. And then you find that you start being able to predict when it's going to crash. But this is your neural network in your brain just making connections of everything and being able to extrapolate. You're being GPT, you're being chat GPT, GPT-3 or whatever. You're just being that. You've got no idea how you know that it's about to crash. And then you start analyzing repetition. You record videos. I mean, it can get to the point where you're literally recording a video. I mean, these are rare, but when you've been around long enough, you'll have been through it. You could set up a video camera with you playing the game, capturing the screen as well, but also the inputs on the controller, and you are just playing it until it crashes. And then when it crashes, at least you've got the video, and then you look back on the video and you start to piece it together and say, maybe we could try putting some more information on the screen, a bit of debug information, and you repeat the process. And if you're lucky, you don't have to remake an entire build. If you're unlucky, that piece of information that you have to put on there requires that you remake an entire build, and you have to wait a day. Well, you hope that doesn't happen, but you put a bit more diagnostic information on the screen, you repeat the process, you play the thing, you're capturing the video, it's feeding your brain, your neural network, your wetware, it's feeding that, and eventually you go, it looks like it happens when the foo bar operates against the widget over there, whatever, and you put another theory in, you put in another log line, and then you find a diagnostic on the screen that predicts that the crash is going to happen, and you start to figure it out. Or the alternative is it goes away, you can't recreate it anymore, and you ship and hope for the best. So if you can't recreate it, how can you? And then the game gets released, and if it's a game where many people play it, you'll have millions of players, and it might only happen to 1 in 1,000 players, and now there are 1,000 upset people, like maybe 1 in 1,000 players in the first half hour of play or something, and you'll end up with 1,000 dissatisfied customers who race off to the social media, and there they are going, oh, they were lazy devs, oh, it's terrible, bugs, but full of bugs, and it's actually 1 in 1,000 that get that, but there are 1 million players, and yeah, what you do. Welcome to the world of game development. Well, my point is that if you've been doing this kind of work as I'm doing now, you're set up for handling those really hardcore situations somewhat more, you're somewhat more prepared. Anyway, learning C and assembly taught me about memory allocation and pointers. None of my colleagues know about that nowadays. C# backend. Yeah, you need to know about that. Everybody needs to know about it, even if you're working in the back end. Eventually you will need it. Yeah, you see that, and yeah. I didn't understand pointers at all from the explanation from my first C course until I realized they're just addresses like assembler, which I already knew. Yeah, they are. But you see, there was this problem that there is this bigotry that exists between science and engineering. So what computer science tried to do was abstract away the hardware, because those are just engineers, and engineering isn't science. And part of that is trying to pretend that addresses don't exist. So C# does its best to hide the concept of pointers at all, addresses at all. There is no such thing as an address. Get rid of it. I mean, it's still there, but get rid of it. And it turns out there are certain situations where having the address of an object in C# when you're trying to diagnose things is invaluable, and what do you do then? I found that a bit of a frustration when I was working in Unity. Unity game dev for iPhone is a slow feedback cycle too. With my old Mac Mini, at least 20 minutes to test device-specific issues. Yes, and then not only that, but they used to make it so that you didn't have to run the code through IL2CPP. That's convert C# to C++. And then they deprecated that, which was a foolish thing to do. Not because you're going to ship your game in mono, as it was. You're going to ship it. You're definitely going to ship it with IL2CPP so that it runs fast. But what the developers of Unity totally forgot was the need to be able to debug your damn game on the hardware. So when you use IL2CPP, all of the line and file information is lost because they didn't ensure that replication was maintained in that respect, right? So it means that you then get error, the thing crashes, you get a stack dump, and it's just, there's no information there. You've got the names of the functions, you don't have any file or line information at all. And so what do you do? I have various tricks that I use to do that, but it goes back to not using the debugger, or the debugger's not going to help you. You go back to using logs. And I literally have shortcuts that I put in the editor that put unique file and line numbers baked into the comment. So I hit the thing, and it literally puts in the file and the current line number. That will change, but it's at least some identifier that's put there automatically, because that's the only way that I can then tie a log message back to an actual code, because the IL2CP stripped out all of that information, and C# doesn't support macros, because if it did, then you could have file and line which works in C. What a knotty tangle that is. I have a hobby horse about that one. One of the engineering tutors at work handed in his notice. I said, no problem, I'll just watch a couple of YouTube videos, then I can teach his course. It's only engineering, for goodness sake. You said that, John. There is a mean streak to you that I was unaware of. Anyway, enough ranting. Back to the thing here. So my sprite buffer, I need to point y to the sprite data. Y equals sprite data. X is the sprite instance and y is the sprite data. So what I do is load y immediate 0, which is the letter A, and I do that. And if I put it, instead of putting it into the sprite buffer, I put it into memory. I don't know, let's see what happens. It drew something, but it's a bit of a mess. Oh, right. Okay, it was. Okay, fair enough, John. It was a joke. Okay. That's okay then. I imagine he found it quite funny. So having drawn to the sprite buffer, which we're looking at, the problem is that the sprite buffer is not structured in the same way as the VRAM. I then need to do the second part of that, which is the blit to the screen, which is buffer XOR with screen. So I copied it. I copied the sprite to the buffer, and then I XOR the buffer with the screen. So this macro has a from, which I'm going to literally take it from the memory. It's actually doing it from VRAM, but by doing this I'm able to view what's going on. So basically what I'm doing is using VRAM as temporary storage, or as storage for the data. I get some kind of view of the data on the screen. That's what you're looking at there. If it worked, this is the letter A in the draw buffer, but it doesn't look right, but we'll see. So then I plot from that 2, where the 2 is going to be in video RAM as well, but further down, so we should see it about here if it works. And then the collision count can be kept at 0. Load X immediate 0, because that's the sprite instance. And it just, well, index from, yeah, okay. And to the screen address, I think that's it. I just need to set load X immediate 0. We'll see what happens here. So if what happens here is lots of errors. What did I do wrong? This is on line 134. Oh, in sprites. 134. So when expanding the macro, oh, yes, silly me. Where did that go? Buffer X with XOR with screen. What? I seem to have lost that. Why did it not find? Oh, it's because of this plus thing. I don't know. Let me try that again. I do a copy of. I should be searching for that. That time it worked. I don't know why. Something weird going on there. From. Yeah, that's the 2 is in 0 page memory. Okay, John. Yeah, good. Thanks for stopping by, and yeah, have a good night, and congratulations on your promotion to moderator of the Dino Dini show thing here. he started off by sweet talking me, so there we are. I'm human. So let's see. We do load X, load A immediate 0, store A in $80, and then load A immediate $. This is the address I'm going to store it, which is going to be 88. Store it in. This is brain ache. I'm storing it in 80 and 81, the address I want to write it to, and that's the way it works. So that assembled, and this is my letter A, and so my letter A is a shambles. That doesn't look like a letter A at all. I'm shocked at how severe a mess this is, frankly. Draw address 1. I'm going to use the official address. Draw address 1, which then I need to use here as well. Draw address 1. In case it was the doing this in the screen that caused the problem. No. So what we've got narrowed it down to is that the sprites are scrambled. Which is very odd. Sprite data is held in this table here. We convert the sprite to buffer, and then we buffer that. We XOR the buffer with the screen. The address looks correct. What I put in here is about right. 8800. It's certainly drawing stuff, but I don't understand how this thing that's been working fine suddenly doesn't work anymore. That's a little hard. Now I've split the files, it's a little harder to navigate. So I have to switch buffer. Sprite to buffer from Y to X, from Y in order to figure this out, I'm going to have to do a really simple, what do I do? You know, because I've got nothing to go on, so I have to simplify even more. We'll take that is a complete failure. Well, let's do a raw copy by hand. So what I'm going to do is literally load the first address, the sprite data, which you know, if we look at here, this is 18. So that's going to load that, and I stored that at $8400, and then I jump to halt. So literally copying the first byte of that letter A, and there's nothing there. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. The next byte of the letter A is this, which is down 32 times, well, it's 256. So I can load the next line of the letter A, which is 256 bytes down. It's done this way so that I can index, I can read any of the sprites out by using an index that goes 0, 1, 2, 3, whatever. It's a kind of a striping technique, if you will, that basically means I could have up to 256 sprites. That also came out blank. So I think I just have a problem with memory locations or something. It could be some oddity of the assembler that's causing this problem. So I'm going down now 4 bytes, and each one of these I need to go down another 256. So what we can do is do 256 times 0, 256 times 1, 256 times 2, 256 times 3, and each time I'm going down 32 bytes to get to the next line in the video display, and it's still all blank. And that's extremely odd, because there's what could go wrong here? 4, 5, 6 and 7, those are the 8 lines. 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, A, B, C, D, E, and we try that, and I've got garbage. So basically sprite data ain't what it used to be. I'm getting garbage out, which might be because it got overwritten. Yeah, but that's why I'm not doing anything else. Well, this code, the great thing about that bit of code is that it's totally independent of everything else. So I can literally put it right at the start and it will work, or should. So this way I'm sure that, you know, I haven't, well, if the A appears now, oh, it might help if I switch, I need to switch, I need to clear screen. I have to do that because it's going to put it in the correct graphics mode. Try that again. How fascinating. Now I get something, but it's still garbage. I think I have a peculiarity of the assembler here. Did I copy the right? Oh, no, this is the sprite. Yeah, this is the sprite drawing routine. I beg your pardon. Which we see the garbage again, but that's good because I've got the sprite drawing routine can also be done pretty much independently of anything else. If I take, this is my attempt to draw the letter A by a brute force approach, and then jump to halt. Let's see that one. Yeah, it's sprite data 1 is no longer what I think it is. It's probably got to do with, oh, I think I've fallen foul of a technical problem with the development environment. It's nothing to do with the code. What it is to do with the executable and managing this data that's here. I need to look at the executable. This is the executable here in hex. And at the end, we should have data. You should have all of the sprite data. And that should be present in there. I've got a feeling that it actually isn't putting it in, and that's why we're getting garbage. So I think a way to fix that. So the assumption I was making is there was something wrong with my code, but that assumption's not necessarily true. FC 7E. Oh, it's going to be the other way though. But there it is. 18 FC 7E FC. Those there, that's seen here. And so there is data. It's in there. I'm looking at an old one though, because you see it says test. So maybe I'm looking at the wrong one. Let's take a look at do, and I do a hex dump of $out. I do a hex dump of $out. It generates this on the fly every time. I don't think that's going to be the problem. So what is the problem? How big is the executable? OC7E. Which is, well, 4 is 1K, 400 is 1K, so 400, 800, so it's about 3K, I don't know, feels about right. Let's check if we have any other so fundamental main. Sort of reminds me of a problem that I had with Goal when I was working with Virgin with the publisher, and I ported over Goal. I ported over Goal to the Mega Drive, and I was quite proud of the achievement and the time it had taken me. I'd done a good job in porting over the graphics and solving some gnarly problems. So I did that, and I burned the EPROMs, 2 EPROMs, and I sent them the EPROMs, and I got back a bit of a curt reply. Says, well, we can see that you've been doing some work on the game, but what about the graphics? And I was going, what do you mean, what about the graphics? And they hadn't burned the EPROMs properly. and the EEPROMs came with 2 EEPROMs, and only one of them was burned properly, and the other one had the graphics. So when they were playing it, it was just like blocky nonsense. You could see there was some kind of game happening. Ah, there we go. Things like that that make me joke that I made a career out of getting into trouble for doing the right thing. It was okay, we got sorted out, but you know, my concern was that someone at Virgin had only ended up hearing half of the story, and then from that point on, you know, anyway. Sort of reminds me of that, because what I've got is, it seems like it's not connecting properly to the sprite data. Then, you know, what can I do? I suppose what I can do is literally copy these bytes, because I don't care. I'm looking at it and going, well, how could that go wrong? I mean, you know, why? What's the point of doing that? Obviously it'll work. No, that's incorrect logic. There's no obvious anymore. You're just desperate to get to a point where something makes sense. That's what you have to do. Get to somewhere something makes sense. This no longer makes any sense. Don't question why. Do not question why. It doesn't mean you don't know. If you knew that, it would make sense. It doesn't make sense. So even if it seems pointless, you go and do load 1.8, store it. The next one is this one. You have to go down to the next block here, so it's 24. I just want to have something make sense, and this surely will make things make sense, because that's what you need. And this principle is a very old one I learned a long time ago, and I use it to this day. When it doesn't make sense, just get to a place where things make sense. Doesn't matter where. Don't try to optimize it. You'll be making assumptions if you're trying to optimize it. Don't overthink it. I'm just going to literally hardwire those bytes in that table, because I'm pretty confident it will make sense. I should have a letter A, you know, subject to typos. Come on, give me my letter A. Well, it almost did a letter A. It didn't quite do a letter A because of I typed things wrong, but let's check, because we're still not 100% making sense. You want to get it where it totally makes sense. 182442. I'm reading these bytes here. That's 42. 81 FF 81 81 81 81. Okay, let's check. Still not perfect. It should be perfect. 0 2 8400. I'm going down by 32, which is 20 hex. 20 40 60 80 A C E. And look at that. I can't see anything wrong with it, and it's still garbled. Now I don't understand why that is garbled at all. If we look at it in detail, we can see that it's fine up to this FF. Dollar, dollar, dollar. Those were in decimal, not hex. Okay, right. So now we have a letter A, and finally we get to the point where something makes sense. What do I do now? It's clear that I'm reading 18 from here and storing it at the top, this first byte up here. I can see that if I read sprite data 1, I should have the value of 18. So if I replace this load A with sprite data 1, I should still have a letter A. So this means that the assembler doesn't think that this is pointing here anymore. Now, I'm trying to work out how that can be. There is a way that it could be that, and it's to do with, well, no, it's not possible. Okay. The header. Let me have a look at the header, the way the header works. Oh, I remember something I had to do, and I've probably broken that. It was a little bit hacky, but it's to do with generating the cassette format file. There is a, in reorganizing this, I think I broke a very important little thing, which is knowing where the end of the program is. Oh, that's this. End minus start. This is the length of the program, and I'm basically saying to the assembler, write this back at address 0900 minus 2, which in the header it's basically this. Because the point is that the executable code starts I'm constructing the header on the files that are executables, and I'm constructing that header inside the assembler, and and I need to put in the header how long the file is, and so I used this trick in the assembler to do that. Now this will work providing start is correct. You remember what I did? I remember now. I'm getting it. I think I got it. Because when I did the refactor, I did this. So what this means is start actually serves two purposes. The first purpose of start is the entry point. The second purpose of start was to measure the amount, the size of the file. Now, when I put code in source files here, it pushes the code down, and so execution begins sort of here, as you enter in. And so I said, okay, well, I'm executing some code in here. This is going back a couple of hours, executing some code in here, which threw it into a halt because it happened to be the halt routine. I say jump halt. It would jump in there, boom. Right. Well, so I said, let's just jump around it. So that's fine. Now when it jumps in, it starts. But the problem is start is no longer at the start. And because start is no longer at the start, the offsets are wrong for when it calculates the length of the code. And there's quite a bit of code inside sprites. So it means that the figure that is given for the length of the file is going to be quite a bit shorter than it really is. And so what happens is it's not actually loading. It's in the file, right? But the operating system of the Atom is not loading the whole file in. And because of that, it doesn't load the graphics in. And because of that, we don't see the letter A. Okay, fix. Let's call this main. Let's jump to main. And let's call this start. And now we have the letter A. And that's a fairly common pattern. You spend ages looking for the problem, and then when you find the problem, you fix it in about 2 seconds. So look, that was that test, which I'm removing. Now I'm going to try the simple, the actual draw an A by using the sprite buffer and the XOR to screen, which I did. This was a test I made, was it half an hour ago? Actually works perfectly because the problem was not in the code, it was to do with the data. Assumptions, always check your assumptions. I was assuming I started to get suspicious. You may notice I checked to see if the data was in the file. It was in the file. That wasn't the problem. The problem was the operating system wasn't loading the data. So then we get rid of that because I think that's absolutely fine, because we drew the thing properly. We're going to clear the screen. I'm going to sort of gradually reinstate stuff. We're going to do all the way down here to this jump halt. I think I'll get a blank screen. Well, except the line, because it drew the line across the top. And then here is a halt after. We're going to do a halt after drawing the initial sprites. And now we have 2 letters. Only 2 though. Because the ship is the ship is automatically at the end of the letters. This is actually the ship. The ship is now B because I changed the number of letters to 1. In fact, there should be 10 letters. All the letters are back. Such a silly little thing. All the letters are back. And now we get rid of this halt. And now the game is working. So there is a lesson, isn't it? It's like, I'm back. Everything's fine. What fun. It's all working fine. There was nothing wrong with it. The only thing that went wrong with my little reorganization was the calculation of the length of the file. Where's C? I need C. Come here, otherwise I'm going to die. C, where are you, C? C. There it is. All right. I think that's a good place to leave it for tonight. Thank you very much for watching. At least I managed to fix that weird bug. Probably see you again tomorrow. Take care, everyone. And if you like what I'm doing, I never ask for this. And I won't now, but I will say, you know what you can do if you like this. So do it. Take care. Bye.